Friday.
It is Merry Christmas Friday. Hi, David. If you're feeling Christmassy.
I'm feeling Christmassy. Did I spell that right?
Well, that looks
Christmassy.
pretty good.
Yeah, it should have had an E in it, right?
Yeah.
Fortunately, my mother's not alive to see that. Of course, my wife might see it, and she's almost as bad with English. So we better fix that right now.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll never live it down. There we go. I don't. Maybe that's not right though, because
I thought it was correct the way you had it, but
yeah, you might be right because the A is short.
must see. Yeah.
Anyways,
Anyway,
yeah,
hey, you know what? Everybody, let us know what you think. Google it up and
is
let
Dave
David
is
know.
Dave Christmassy or Christmas
Okay.
Day?
And we hope all of you are feeling Christmassy too. It is
Close.
Monday. We're just 2 days away, 2 more days away till Christmas.
Monday's not really a bad day for Christmas.
No, it isn't.
Mondays normally suck. Although I have to admit, I don't know what happened. I guess maybe because we're not doing anything, but the last 2 Mondays were eerily silent for me. Usually Mondays are a flurry of calls, this, that, and the next things,
Mhm.
that broke or isn't working or what have you. And last two have been really slow. It's like my phone doesn't even ring. It's like, wow, man, nice.
Enjoy that.
I'm afraid to go look at the farms to make to see if they're even still there.
Yeah, enjoy the calm because you have enough, I'm sure, of the other.
Yes, the new year is quickly approaching. I don't know about you folks, but out there in listener land, but man, 2023 was it was pretty fast, I thought.
It has flown by. And
Yeah.
but the older we get, it's flying even faster, David. And it's everything seems to fly. It's like, it's the beginning of the month, and next thing you know, it's the end of the month.
Yeah. 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 No kidding. Yeah. Next,
Yeah.
you pay all your bills, and next thing you know, all your bills are due. I
Right.
don't get
So Bobby says it should have two S's.
it. Christmassy.
Christmassy.
I'm
I don't know.
staying with what I have.
Lori says Christ MC. Well, I'll tell you, there's some crazy stuff happening. We've got good news, bad news, and in between.
There's crazy stuff happening, or can't? What'd you do? Read
You
the
know, I
news?
think I think crazy things in the news happening, and there's good stuff happening. For example, look, the Supreme Court has says no, we're not going to hear Jack Smith's case. So that's like dead in the water,
Probably
until
good.
2024. So beyond the election, it's sounding like.
Yeah. Well,
And
there's other good news too. I think there was 7,000 on Monday, probably another 7,000 on Tuesday. So there's like 20,000 people that used to live someplace else that now live in America. So that's a big Merry Christmas for them.
well, it is for them. And you know what? They're getting free air flights and they're getting
Yeah.
debit cards that I'm assuming get recharged, Hey, here's an airplane ticket, to go wherever you want, and here's a bunch of money. And clothes and a phone, and Obama phone. Don't forget they get the Obama phone too.
Yeah, I don't understand what's going on there. Chris, you and I, and probably most of our listeners, have resources to find out what's really going on. And what's really going on is being reported. It's being reported by several people that, I've seen video of 5,000 people on the border,
Yeah.
with another 5,000 people on the other side of the border ready to cross. And there's people at the airports taking videos of planes that are full of illegal aliens that are
Yep.
flying to cities across America. And it doesn't seem like any of the mainstream media, and I really can't say this with any authority because I really don't watch the mainstream media, is reporting any of it. I suppose I could Google it. I suppose I could Google illegal immigration and see what comes up, and it ought to be pretty it ought to be pretty entertaining, just like Googling climate change is. But we've got a full scale invasion of this country going on the northern and the southern and the northern border, and it's just like nobody cares.
No, and I'll tell you, on Wednesday, Don and I wrapped up our program talking about this is an absolutely impeachable offense with Biden, the border condition of what's going on right now,
Article
and
4, Section 4.
what's been going on and now. And this is absolutely an invasion, and this is dangerous for our country. But Ted Cruz, and I just posted this story from Red State, Ted Cruz is demanding answers about the alarming way illegal aliens fly throughout the US without normal screening. Where's their ID? Right? We have to have ID. You cannot get on an airplane without an ID, right? And your
Yeah, without a note from your mother and being searched by the TSA,
right,
while
and they're
having to
not
leave your
going
gun at
through
home.
these regular screenings. This is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have an ID to get into the secure area to get on a plane. And yet these are people that, as you've seen, as I'm sure as well as I have, the piles of pictures of piles of IDs over in Mexico, that
Right.
they've just dropped their ID of who they are. So they truly, truly can't be vetted in this country. And Jose comes in and says, yes, I'm Miguel Sanchez,
Yep.
and who's to say any different?
Right.
So I'm glad that Ted Cruz and others are bringing this to light. James O'Keefe has, and talking about going to have been talking about being at the airport and seeing large numbers of illegal aliens getting on their flights from Phoenix to New York. And I actually watched something that I had seen on Telegram was there were James O'Keefe had done an interview. I can't remember the name of the company, but they were in Arizona, and he said, "Are you guys flying these people?" And he says, "No, actually, our airline is not." And it was a private airline. And they said, "No, we're not doing that." But there was a third party that had made reservations from point A to point B, and is that what they're doing? And right now, though, if you follow James O'Keefe, there are pilots and airline staff are starting to talk about this. And saw where Elon Musk said, you know what, we're allowing to disguise their voices so that there's no retribution to these people that are willing to speak out about this. And because this is wrong. I do know that, and we reported it on Wednesday, that Governor Abbott out of Texas was going to be flying because the buses have been harassed. His first flight of illegals was going into Chicago. And he says, because the bus companies and the people driving them are getting harassed. And I can understand that, but the person is just trying to do a job, right? The person driving the bus, he's like the lowest person on the totem pole there. But it's wrong that this is allowed to happen when we get scrutinized for everything.
Yeah, we can barely get on a plane.
Yeah.
You gotta. I mean, I still don't have my what do you call it? Real ID from Oregon. And I've got to either find that certified copy of my birth certificate that I've had for 50 years, and I'm not quite sure where I put it, or I have to get another one. And it's strange. I've saw a couple of reports, and of course, I never know the veracity of the reports, and I take everything that I read and hear and even see with a grain of salt in this digital age. but I've heard reports of the immigrants are not going through TSA with the other passengers, that they have their own area.
I've heard of
Yeah.
those reports as well. Yeah, they're not
I
going
also
through regular screening.
I also saw a report, and I didn't read it. It was just in passing, but it seemed to be a communication from the airlines or the airline pilots union that indicated that the airlines were going to exercise a non-disclosure as far as their staffing is concerned about who they're flying and where they're flying to. I mean, it sounds like it really sounds like a large clandestine operation being run at taxpayers' expense and being hidden from the taxpayer. We know that these people are showing up in cities. We've seen New York. They're coming unglued. Chicago's come unglued. I did see one person at an airport who was naming the destinations, and oddly enough, Portland was not on it. Because Portland is, in fact, well, Oregon is a sanctuary state, and Portland
Yeah.
has cemented their reputation as a sanctuary city for all kinds of whatever. It's basically Sodom and Gomorrah up there. So it almost makes me want to go to the airport and just hang out for a day and watch.
Well, I can tell you that I have been on 2 flights that I know I had an illegal sitting next to me. And
Really?
if you've seen the pictures, they've got just a little a little plastic bag. The plastic bags that Oregon has banned everywhere, the thin little
Right.
flimsy ones. And
Right.
one person had a white plastic bag, and another flight, the person had a yellow plastic bag. And he was sitting next to me, and I, speak enough Spanish to get by. I'm certainly not fluent like I was when I was living down there. And so I asked him, where he's from and where you headed. And he wouldn't, and the flight attendant was asking him for what drink. So I actually translated to him in Spanish for her. And he was just, I'm sure that's his first airplane flight ever in his life.
Did he
And
say where he was from and where he was going?
yeah, he was from El Salvador. One was from El Salvador, and the other one was from Guatemala.
And did they say where they were going?
And well, I
Or
was
does he
flying
even
to
know where
Florida.
he's going?
I was flying to Florida, and one of them, the flight was from Florida, and I was flying over to Seattle. So, and it was in an interim. No, I had a direct flight. So, where the person was going to Seattle on that flight from Florida
Wow.
to Seattle. And yeah. So I know that I've seen them in airports, but there's more now. So I guess they had an
Yeah.
open space on Twitter and a conversation, and a person, I don't know who this is, Ashley St. Clair,
Yeah.
she
She's
said
one of the ones
11.
that made the video.
Yeah, there you go. And she says, when I asked one pilot, can you give passengers assurance that the migrants boarding these flights have had proper criminal and medical look-ats? And they said, no. We don't know who these people are. They've been given stuff from, they've been given a ticket, basically,
Right.
in the name of Miguel Sanchez or whoever, and to go somewhere. Just get the hell out of Texas, or
Or
Arizona.
Arizona. Yeah.
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 And
Well, I'm not sure what we can do about it.
there isn't, I don't know, but I'll tell you, we have to be aware of it. And I think making noise about it, talking to our legislators and going, this is wrong, calling for Biden to for his impeachment. But it's just so blatant how our Constitution is not being followed. It's like being shredded by this, and many of the other things that have been going on of late.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, on its surface, this invasion, this, I guess you could say Democrat supported invasion, although I understand the Catholic Church has a large, large role in this immigration thing.
Yeah.
On its surface, it's a voter dilution. So probably one of the reasons we don't see a lot of them coming to Portland is because they don't need it in Oregon. They need the people in swing states. They need to go to
Yeah.
Ohio and Michigan and whatever the swing states are this year. I don't really know. I don't keep track of that. I should, but I don't. So as a political operation, that's what that is. That's how the Democrats benefit. That's their buy-in. But on a
Yeah.
larger agenda, globalist agenda, it causes chaos. It's a cloward and pivoting, if you will, if you know what cloward and pivot is, of the American economy. And it's, like many people smarter than me, more eloquent than I am, have pointed out that when you import the third world to your country, you invariably become closer to a third world country.
Yeah.
And
So I just posted another story that's out of Just the News that Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger wants federal and state constitutional amendments banning non-citizen voting. To your point, David,
fair
because
enough.
this border crisis is impacting election integrity. And and I saw a post, a meme like post the other day, and it showed all the things that we need an ID for. And then it says what you don't need an ID for. And the only thing was voting.
All right.
Everything you need an ID for, uh, to here in America. And to rent a place, to rent a car, to buy a car, buy a house,
Buy beer,
open a bank account,
buy guns,
buy guns. There's
buy
have
spray
a,
paint.
I don't know about that. You would maybe, but I
Yeah.
don't. Right? You have to show ID to buy liquor and
Yeah.
maybe even spray paint, so they're going to check that if you're,
It,
whatever
it,
age
I
you
think,
need.
yeah, I think in Portland you have to show ID to buy spray paint.
Wow. Wow. And you know what? There's no reason that we're not shown that we should be showing ID for voting and to register to vote. We really, really should. Why
Well, what do
not?
you need to register to vote in Oregon? You can do it online. I think you can do it with a driver's license or a social security number.
Right. And if you don't have either, you could still register to vote. And that becomes a HAVA ballot.
Yeah.
And that where they have not proven that this person is a citizen to vote. And so, therefore, in the state of Oregon, you're not allowed to vote for any federal positions. There's that even on the paper form, that is
Really?
there that you can check the box. I don't
Yeah.
have a valid ID and I don't have a social security number. You can check the box.
So, with 20 million additional voters in the country, the Democrats will be reelected forever.
Well, I did see a headline. It says, have they rigged it far enough? I saw this yesterday. Have they rigged it so bad that it's impossible for Trump to get elected?
Yeah, they did in 2020.
They did, but now there's many states that have fixed that so that hopefully that shouldn't happen again, right? But we're going to see.
There's a couple of states that have fixed a couple of things. I don't think anyone's addressed the ballot harvesting, ballot box stuffing issue.
No, but many have said we're not doing mass mail out ballot. It is only for, a legitimate, So I think
Many,
that has
And
helped.
did I just miss that news? Because I haven't heard
I
many.
think several have.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Well, that's
I
good
could
to
be
hear.
wrong, but I
Mm,
think.
that's good to hear.
You know, we're
I
gonna.
am not very confident that a Republican will win the White House in 2024.
Well, I certainly hope so. I hope so.
I hope so too. I mean, I certainly do. I certainly hope that
I
Trump
think
will
it's
be
going to
elected.
be so overwhelming
I just don't know
because
how it's going to
of,
happen.
I think that just by sheer volume. I think sheer volume, Dave, because of what is going on, more people are still leaving the Democrat Party. Yes, they're importing voters. Okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. That's the hard part. That truly is the hard part there.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard anybody explain to me what the Trump campaign is going to do differently than they did in 2020. So, last I heard from Huguenot, he said, well, conditions are different. Well, okay. Conditions are different, but the Democrats still have a ballot counting machine. And what's the campaign going to do to address that? If you don't address that, I don't see how you win. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe public sentiment does mean something, but you know, Biden was elected somehow, right?
You know, I actually don't know that he was elected, David.
Well, he
He is,
was. The result was that he was legally installed, or you can any way you want to say it. The result is he is the president of the United States.
he is, and I believe illegitimately.
All right, and I asked myself, I go, okay, what's different in 2024?
Well, I don't think there's going to be a mass mail-in ballot mailing. That will make a difference. I don't think that that will be. And I hear your point there. And so I look at it, things going back to more normal voting, but I do believe more people are going to um, vote for Trump, realizing what has been going on, and that it's going to overwhelm the system. They can't come up with that many more people. I hope. I hope.
Well, I hope so too. I mean, I hope so too. And it's not like I'm, saying that Trump can't win, but what I'm saying is something has to change. Now, if the Biden administration gets us into a war, that makes it even more difficult. And we're already prepping for a military action, if you will, in Yemen, a foreign country. So
Yemen's always been a problem.
yeah,
Always been a problem. Hey,
yeah,
we do have some good news, though. The courts did block Biden's plan to remove the Texas border razor wire, and the new law that Abbott signed into law, stating that they're going to arrest any illegals that enter Texas, is being upheld. And so, at this moment, they're actually able to stop more from coming in. Well, actually, that won't go into effect, I don't think, until March. So, but it was a very good deal about the court blocking Biden's plan to remove the razor wire, and Texas is installing no non-scalable fences as well. So they're trying to do things to what degree they are. I mean, something's better than nothing, right? Than what they've had as the open frickin' door.
yeah. Yeah, well, there seems to be no appetite by anybody to do anything down there, and I said it on the show once already. But I think Tucker put it uh, properly. He said, "I don't understand why we're putting up with this. I don't understand why this is standing." He says, "I don't understand why every able-bodied person with a rifle is not on the southern border."
Because we have such a Democrat DOJ everywhere, that And I think, because I've said that I talked with Don about this a bit. Why aren't we having militias down there? Because
Why
they'll
is
all
not
get
every
arrested.
single yeah, why is not every single able-bodied man and woman who is so inclined on the southern border with a rifle stopping this invasion of our country? Because as you pointed out, the president is not upholding Article 4, Section 4, which is to protect the various states from invasion. I don't understand what good the Second Amendment is
If we're not using it,
if we're not
because
using.
they would, I think frankly, everybody would be arrested. That's what I think. Not by Texas, but by the feds.
Well, I think
I
it
don't
would.
know,
Yeah, well, I've kind of war
because
gamed it out.
we have had that before, David.
Yeah. Well, we put up with all this stuff, Sonny. That's the thing. We put up with it all. We put up with it all. In our founding documents, it says it's the right of the people to dispose of a government, to throw it away.
True.
Of a government that no longer is or by the people. And I think we've been that way for decades.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
for
Absolutely.
God's sakes,
Let's make a deal. Let's compromise and make a deal, huh, Dave? That's
well,
kind of what it's been, right?
well, we discussed this a lot, and there's two primary motivators to political revolution. The biggest one is hunger. When people are hungry, the government will be overthrown. There's no way
True.
around that. If you're armed, if you're not armed, then you're going to starve to death. The other thing is fear. Fear will cause revolution, but it'll cause revolution by a very small number of people. The larger group of people will, in fact, take the government's safety measures, which are, just designed to enslave you. But we're, like James Buechel says, we're the heaviest armed people in the world, and our country's being run into the ground by crooks, and we do nothing.
And yet, over in Germany right now, farmers are shutting down the freeway with their tractors over the UN's no fertilizer agenda.
Right? Yeah.
No food. You're not going to grow food. And the farmers are
Well,
shutting.
hunger will do it, but they're disarmed, so they're going to starve.
And they're saying that for Germany to, not go along with this United Nations push. Well, something else that other people aren't talking about is Harry Dent is an economist, and he is projecting that 2024 will see the biggest single crash of our lifetime.
Harry Dent?
Harry Dent is
I've
an
never heard of him.
economist. And so his comments were on Fox News Digital. And he says that since 2009, this has been 100% artificial. Unprecedented money printing and deficits.
Money.
27 trillion over 15 years to be exact. 100% artificial. And he says, I quote, "I think 2024 is going to be the biggest single crash year we'll see in our lifetimes," end quote. And he believes that the S&P is going to crash, NASDAQ, crypto is going to crash, real estate to go back to about 2012 lows, which would be about a 50% crash, which then it was a 34% crash in housing markets. So he believes that we are headed to that in 2024. We'll see. I think the crash is coming because it's got a huge bubble, and
There's a Yeah, there's a debt bubble that will cause a worldwide currency crash, which would destroy everything. You know,
Yeah.
once the dollar crashes, the whole world is screwed.
So anyway, that's not good news by any means,
No,
but it's
no,
something to be aware of. And so, we bring things up on captive audience that you might not be hearing in mainstream media. This was in PJ Media, is where I found this. Catherine Salgado had written that article. We do have a good news. Federal judge out of California, he calls the law banning carrying firearms in most public places repugnant.
good for him.
And so he has, it's been blocked. That law from going into effect has been blocked by a federal judge. And absolutely, the law was signed by Governor Newsom in September, and it was set to go into effect this coming January 1st. And he says no, calling the law sweeping, repugnant to the Second Amendment, and openly defiant of the Supreme Court. So that's that.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we need those. We do need to have good news stories. And another good news story that might make us a little Christmassy is, the Supreme Court. Jack Smith had asked the Supreme Court to hear the case and bypassing the appellate court. And the Supreme Court says, nah, we're not going to fast track this. And so actually, it's going to be going to the appeals court. And they said that they would expedite the case. But essentially, many people have been speculating that this case more than likely won't even be heard in 2024. We'll have to wait and see, and we'll report back, on what's going on with that. But I was really happy that the Supreme Court did not pick it up. But something else that I really like is our former Attorney General Edwin Meese and two other constitutional scholars, constitutional lawyers, filed a brief with the Supreme Court stating that Jack Smith had not been appointed
I read that.
legally. You heard that?
I did, yeah.
And I went, oh yes, we've got to have the legal beagles checking out the other legal beagles to see if what's going on is following the Constitution. And
Yeah.
he was not ever confirmed in any way, shape, or form. And only people if I recall from memory, people that could be appointed a special counsel have to have already been approved by Congress and a group of lawyers that were already approved. And he was never that. So he was actually unlawfully appointed as special counsel. So the whole thing ought to get whacked.
Well, that's good because that's all banana republic-y stuff. I mean,
Yes, it is.
the
Yes, it
political
is.
persecution of Trump. It doesn't matter who it is, Trump or anybody else. This Colorado judge removing him from the ballot. I believe that is in the works in 19 states. It's just that's El Salvador. That's Cuba. That's
Yeah. Venezuela.
it's Venezuela. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not what America was certainly founded. Any principle that America was founded. It's amazing that seems to be lost on most, or many, or most. I'm not sure. We just don't see it happening. You talk to the normal person on the street, and they don't know. They
No.
don't know this stuff's and they can't put it together. It's really up to the people who care enough to become educated enough to not educated, but yeah, educated, I guess is the word, but not educated in the school sense. Educated enough to to perceive when a country is in its downfall, and it seems like America is in a downfall to me. I
Yeah.
mean, these are signs that you would see in another country, and you go, that country's on the downhill slope. And now these things are happening in America. And I wish more people would look at that, and a red flag would go up, up and go, hey, that's not right. Not the way we're supposed to do it here in America.
No, no, it isn't. And frankly, our country is being destroyed by the Democrat parties. They hate America, quite frankly, and they want to dismantle it in every way that they can. And so back in here to Oregon, where before Trump, the Secretary of State, says, nope, he's going to be on the ballot. Well, now, First Free Speech for People asked the Secretary of State to remove Trump. That was denied. Now they're asking the Oregon State Supreme Court to intervene. And that's with Oregon as part of 15 states that are being sued to do the very same thing. And quite frankly, it's dangerous because this is not letting the people
Yeah.
make their choice. Make their choice.
Yeah, it's
They don't.
extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, so if let's say the Oregon Supreme Court, and I would say it's a fairly high probability. I would say it's a likelihood that the Oregon Supreme Court will say, yeah, he needs to be removed from the ballot. So if you take that to its logical extension, I think they're using the insurrection or sedition or whatever clause. Someone who engages in such a thing cannot run or hold office. If you run that out to its logical extension in the hands of Democrats who are willing to do anything to stay in power, they could do that to virtually anyone. I mean, you could extend that out, and you could say that denying a quorum to the Oregon State Legislature is tantamount to insurrection. Right?
Yeah.
You could say that what I said.
Right. You could claim all kinds of things.
What I said on this show about the founding documents clearly enumerating the right of the people to dispose of its government when it no longer serves its purposes as insurrection or sedition. It's the same thing. It's the same banana republic stuff that we've been seeing all along. And I know it's hard. I know that the media plays that covers all this up, plays intermediary. And so most people don't understand. I mean, they're just spoon fed a bunch of shit basically on every nightly news program and all of the publications, mainstream publications. I understand people don't hear about it, but it's maybe, I don't know, maybe it's up to us. Maybe it's up to us to make sure that people know about it, make sure people know the ramifications of what's going on in America and where it leads. Personally, it's not that hard for me. It's not that hard for you to see it going on because we seek out the information and we know what the ramifications are. We know that if you could do this to Trump, then you could do this to all of the Republican senators. You could do this to David Darnell. You could do this to anybody who says anything, is guilty of any kind of wrong think or wrong speak. And then we're just less than a decade away from communist China.
Right. So now, did you hear that 3 GOP legislatures in 3 states are seeking to keep Biden off the 2024 ballot as a result of this? Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona have representatives there in those 3 states released the following joint statement about their efforts and upcoming legislation to remove the current president's name from the ballot in Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. And their statement says, I'm joining with Pennsylvania Rep. Aaron Bernstein and Arizona Rep. Cory McGarr to introduce legislation to remove Joe Biden from the ballot in response to the absurd ruling by radical Democrat judges in Colorado removing Donald Trump from their ballot.
Oh, good.
And Mrs. Bird, she had said that in a statement. And so I'm glad to see this pushback, because you want to, if it takes tit for tat for it to all fall apart, then let's do it.
Yeah.
And also, I really liked the day that the court in Colorado made their decision, that the Supreme Court of Colorado made the decision to remove Trump from the ballot. The Colorado GOP came out and said, if this stands, we will go to caucus and not to an election. And they will put Trump as they've won the election. Go to
Right.
a Republican caucus. So they had a solution ready at hand. Thank God. Knowing this is, I don't know how the Oregon Republican Party will respond to any of this. And it's sad for me to even say that. Had it still
Well,
been
unless
under
prompted
Chairman
by people like
Courier,
me and you, they won't do anything.
had we still been under Chairman Courier's leadership, there would have been lots of noise about this already.
Yeah, well, we'd be leading a
You
march
know,
on. We'd be leading a march on the capital of Colorado, whatever that is. Guess I don't remember.
yeah.
To Denver.
So the caucus, Lori's asking, explain the caucus, please. Well, those Republicans in the party that are officers and members of, for example, I'm a county chair, and those members of the party and even our elected Republicans would all caucus together and make the determining factor of who would be winning that Republican nominee for the primary. Having a closed primary is where we are choosing, the party is choosing who is going to represent us to the general election. And so that's what that would do. Justin Huang is the head of the Oregon GOP. To answer your question, Bobby?
Yeah, I mean Iowa is a caucus state. I think there's a couple others. So Iowa is where all the Republicans and all the Democrats get together separately, and they choose who they're going to put forward as the nominee from the state of Iowa. And they don't do it by. I don't believe they do it by popular vote.
No,
And I
and so this is where the chairman of Colorado said, we will change from being by election to a caucus for
right,
this
and some
election.
yeah, and
And
some
they
state
had the right
laws.
to do that.
Yeah, some state laws allow that. Some state laws allow, well, in the close primary states, allow a political party to hold their primary election, if you will, in any manner they so desire. I'm not sure about Oregon.
Yeah.
Don't
And
know.
Lori, no, Ronna would not have a voice in any of that. That is strictly for the state.
Yeah.
She's the chair of the RNC, but it doesn't have
Well,
anything to do with
they'd be
what's going
making
on at the state level.
they'd be making calls and sending people. I guarantee you.
Oh, guaranteed. Guaranteed. There would be pressure, but it doesn't have to necessarily follow that way, because it's a damn shame that Ronna is still the chair of the RNC. It's a damn shame.
Yeah. Well, it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah, and
what's.
this is for Lori says, wow, and this is just for the primary? Right.
Yeah.
Imagine what happens when it comes down to the general election, because it might be some of the courts have said no, or states have said, well, not for the primary. Let them stay on the ballot for the primary. They might try to do something at the general. You know what? We all have to be prepared for anything to happen. And we
Yeah.
have to be able and be willing to make noise about it and to speak about it and to bring the awareness.
I agree. I advocate for whatever
Well,
action is necessary to right
yeah,
the wrong path of the Great American experiment, which has turned into more of a democracy than a republic, unfortunately, through a bunch of laws, some court cases, and amendments to the Constitution.
yeah. Yeah, we're actually in a quite a dangerous way in our country in so many areas. There was a very good win, and I don't have a story on that. I remember hearing about it. David, you probably know. The Supreme Court in Oregon, I believe it was the Supreme Court,
Yeah,
shut down Governor Brown's the climate program
yeah,
that she had passed because it was not done by the legislation. That
yeah.
was a big win for Oregon
That is a big
for a
win for
little
Oregon. Uncharacteristic too. An uncharacteristically good win for Oregon.
Yeah. I don't know how long it'll stand. You know what I'm saying? Until the next legislative session and our new governor who wants
Uh,
to just put the pedal down on all the green crap. You know,
yeah,
it's
well, it's the same stuff she's been doing for a decade. I mean, Kotek's
yeah,
been running all the
exactly.
legislation for a decade. You know, uh,
You know, so
Kate
here
Brown,
you have
Kate Brown
the
signed nothing that wasn't put on her desk by Kotek.
yeah. And so here we have the our courts said no, this is unlawful. It didn't go the right way. So hey, there's one for all
Good.
the Democrats in our courts. You know,
Merry
they did
Christmas to
something right that way.
what is right, good and decent,
Amen. That's what we need. We want it to be what's good and right and lawful.
and a crappy
Let's keep
Krampus
it.
to you ideologues and tyrants.
Yeah, and that's why they walked out. That's right. Cap and trade, you know, that's exactly why they walked out. And of course it's going to be the decision by the courts that said no, they can't run for office. It's going to be appealed, I think, to the US Supreme Court. I don't know. I actually haven't heard that it's going to be, but it should be because I think even though I don't believe the citizens truly knew what they were voting for, and the
No, they
interpretation
didn't.
was
You know,
very
they didn't.
broad.
They didn't. I mean, the legislature, I believe the legislature, I don't know if it's enshrined in the Oregon Constitution or not, but the legislature, both the House and the Senate separately, can make their own rules on how they operate. And a denial of quorum is a perfectly lawful, ruleful, way of getting a political outcome.
Yeah.
Democrats used it in the past when Republicans had a majority, which was as recent as, I guess it's close to 20 years ago now. It was in, I think, 2004. And but you can't, that's why I have a problem with the initiative process because, and I guess I've said it before and it's really nothing new, but, people don't think about, they don't think about the ramifications of any given initiative. They go, oh yeah, yeah. If they're not going to show up for work, then they can't run again. I mean, that's what voters were thinking, they're just lazy. They're not doing their job, and,
Right. No, they were stopping bad legislation.
yeah.
They
And like,
stopped
yeah,
so much bad legislation, and and that was the only thing they could do to stop it.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
it.
And it's perfectly legitimate.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I got a little bit of a kind of a funny, I think, is Maine was on the verge of adopting the same California electric vehicle mandates, but because of a big storm back there, they had a power outage that delayed the vote. And I guess they have decided to delay that vote indefinitely, which I think is hilarious.
That is
You know,
hilarious. It's
I'd say
poetic.
God pulled the plug on the electric vehicle mandate in Maine.
Yeah, it's poetic. Yeah.
Yeah, poetic justice. All
Uh,
right, you guys. Have a
yeah,
great Christmas. And
yep.
Dave, thank you. I'm glad you're feeling Christmassy. I hope you still are.
I will.
And
Merry Christmas.
we had our Republican Women Club had a wonderful Christmas brunch or lunch yesterday, luncheon. It was a lot of fun, a good time. And we have to remember to have good times too, right? Allow ourselves to it regenerizes us, revitalizes us, not regenerize, but revitalizes us to and enjoy your family and your loved ones and your friends. And remember, Jesus is the reason for the season.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.